Isha, you are on mute.
So am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
A cordial welcome to all the people who have joined us today for this session of Electronics. I'm Isha Rathi, a representative of ISTE-VIT, a chapter dedicated to providing high-quality technical knowledge to aspiring engineers in a variety of engineering and technology fields in order to foster enthusiasm, creativity, and growth. And I will be your host for the session today. We at ISTE-VIT conduct many events throughout the year, out of which is our flagship event Horizon, which is also a national technical fest. Out of many workshops and events as a part of Horizon, Electronics, as you all might have heard about, is one of the workshops, PCBs, and related terms. So without any further ado, let's get started. I would like to welcome the speaker for today's session. Introducing Mr. Veer B Mahapatra to you all. Let me begin by telling you that he is a very profound content manager at a grad campus and a very passionate person. He has played various roles as lead developer, educator, consultant, mentor, and team leader for various companies, universities, and clients. He has been constantly holding discussions on topics such as deep learning, business analytics, extended reality, augmented reality, self driving cars, electric cars, and most important, comics. He has also trained many ML professionals and students and worked with companies such as Infosys, Lenskart.com, and other companies. Also, we have Mr. Devesh with us today. He was the youngest GET to fly to Germany for training on certain technology, and also he has worked with NPT process and production. He was also among the top 20 students who got selected for the course of Advanced Diploma in Automotive Mechatronics conducted by Mercedes-Benz India. Let's get to learn more from them and begin without any further delay. Also, we'll be having a Q&A session in the end. So please post your questions in the chat box below and sir would address them in the end. Over to you, sir.
Hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, it is.
Great. So, good evening and welcome everyone to the world of electronics. And thank you, Isha, for that really good introduction about me and Divesh. So, there are a lot of things about electronics that you will be getting to know today. Most importantly, the thing that we want to discuss is how you want to get a good career transition in this particular field. The my passion towards conducting this particular session is very simple. In India, especially, there are a lot of people who are, especially from the core industry like electronics and mechanical, who don't really work in this core field. They either try to get a switch into IT field or they get into MBA. So my motivation is pretty clear that I want to promote the core field of electronics. I am also from the background of electronics, and recently I've been working with electric vehicles along with Devesh. Now let's start with the session itself. This session is primarily meant for engineering students from all backgrounds who are interested in electronics, electrical, telecommunications, mechatronics, even computer science, as well as aeronautical engineering. After the session, what you are going to learn is you are going to understand the significance of electronics. You are going to understand what are the various industries where the job and opportunities are actually present, what kind of different roles that you are looking forward to, what is the future or what exactly in the organization you are going to do after certain years of time. We will also walk you through the demo of PCB designing using Eagle and what are the softwares relevant for these kind of roles. We'll also talk about a few of the giant companies that are present currently and how do you land up with a job in these giant companies. So these are going to be our learning outcomes from this particular session today. Let me start with the introduction. In and around us, we see a lot of electronics things that are currently present. Starting from the laptop or the system that you are right now watching, your mobile phone, your headphones, everything that you see is part of the electronics world. Now, there is a very great correlation between the electronics and the digital thing that we are looking at right now. All the technologies that we see nowadays are primarily related with each other in various forms. And at the core part of it, the hardware is present. Whether it's a processor or whether it's a GPU or whether it is any kind of controller that we see nowadays, it's primarily made by people like you and me. That is what the electronics world is all about. Now, there is another new thing that is happening right now. There are a lot of new age technologies that are coming into play. Some of these new age technology are IoT, AI, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and space technologies. You might have heard a lot of buzz around space travel nowadays, how we can make commercialization of space technology, right? And that is one of the biggest places, biggest industry where the job opportunities are going to open up. And if you are motivated enough, if you are dedicated enough from right now, it will be a great growth opportunity for you as well. Now, on the right side of the screen, you can see there are these different industries where a lot of electronics professionals are actually needed. Starting with automotive industry itself. In automotive industry, whatever kind of low voltage system or controller based system, vehicle control units that you see, all are actually created by people like us. Then we have oil and gas industry, we have defense industry, all kind of smart and intelligent weaponry that we see, all kind of navigation systems that we see, all are part of that industry. Construction, electronics industries, this is consumer electronics industry. Marine industry is of course something which is pretty much there. Even lot of government technical jobs are also present where you can actually apply. Power generation is the high voltage systems that we need to work on. Primarily electrical and electronics engineers get into that. Telecom industry is also such a thing where you might have heard about 5G technology, 4G technology, and nowadays even hybrid technologies are also in play. And there are many more such industries that are all around you and they need electronics professionals. Let's move ahead. Now, here what you see is a very typical hierarchy in any manufacturing industry. Primarily, electronics deals with manufacturing across the other industries as well. There are a lot of third-party companies who will manufacture a piece, and you guys, this company will be collaborating with another company, right? So one parent company would be there, let's say a car, right? So they would be ordering pieces of electronic equipment to other companies, and these are all the third-party service-based companies that are going to collaborate with each other to make a final product. To build a space rocket, right, you need so many equipments, and there are not a single company who can manufacture all of them in house, right? I mean, that's a huge job, right? So there are a lot of companies who collaborate with each other, partner up with each other, or sign MOUs with each other, who basically create a particular product. Now, how does it start? Primarily from your business understanding or your business model, the product management team will decide on a new product that has to be developed, right? Then you have another set of team, which is primarily design team, process team, and R&D team, who will put their efforts to understand what exactly is the technology or the product that we are developing and what kind of equipments or tools that we need for this, or parts or components that we need for this, and how do we put it together. That's the job of the design, process, and R&D teams. Then once this product is created, at least a prototype of the product is created, then we look into manufacturing it in mass, right? When we are looking into manufacturing the product in mass, then the product development team and automation team will come into picture. While manufacturing it in mass, there are a lot of manual processes that would be there. But if we are building this product in bulk, right, we have to automate a lot of stuff. Otherwise, it will be too expensive for any company to build that particular product. Once that is all sorted out, then the production, safety, maintenance, quality, and IT support. These are a pretty this particular set of team is pretty regular in any company. You will see whether you are using any particular app. There definitely going to be whoever is developing the app. There is going to be a development team. There is going to be a quality team. Just like that, there is going to be a production team. There is going to be a quality team which does the testing of all the parts that they are going to produce. In every testing, there are definitely some safety aspects which is going to be taken care by that particular team. And as people are selling this product to other people, like the company is selling to it to consumers, then there is definitely going to be a support team as well as a maintenance team, right? And once that is done, the last layer of the hierarchy is basically sales, supply chain, and services. The company has to sell the product, right? You, whenever you are creating something, that has to go to the market, that has to go into the economy, and also the raw material that you need to have for that particular product to put it together, that is basically the job of the supply chain. And finally, services is after the sell. Is there any maintenance things that we need to do? Is there any support kind of thing that we need to do? That is going to be taken care by the services team. This is how the entire hierarchy of a product looks like in any of the manufacturing companies. I'll be taking up questions maybe at the end. So if you have any questions, you should note it down, and then we will talk about it more. Right now, let's just quickly think about where exactly a electronics engineer job comes into picture. Now, normally, when as a fresher we get into this field, we start from the lower side of it, right? We may be part of the production team, right? We may be part of the automation team, or we may directly become part of the product development team, maybe as an intern, right? Or if people are interested in research and development, maybe they have done MTech, they have done PhD, or maybe they have not done anything, but still they can get into the R&D team where they can work on new and innovative features in the product itself, right? Similarly, you have the design team. Normally, design team is basically an architect level thing where you need to have some years of experience in the beginning, and then you basically can get a job like that, right? Now, after a few years of working in these production, R&D, product development, or automation, right? Once you have relevant set of experience, you'll be working up the ladder one by one. You may be a product manager or associate product manager. Then there are group heads that are there. Then there are VPs which are present, right? So you have to showcase your passion while climbing up the ladder. Always remember, as you can look this diagram itself, it's a pyramid kind of structure. The higher you go, the competition is going to be high, right? You need to be prepared. You need to showcase something that is your own or that is your passion, and that will help you climb up this pyramid type of ladder to the top, right? You have to stand out from the crowd basically. Let's move on to the next slide. So there are different roles of electronic professionals. As you can see, we have put together all the kind of roles by doing a lot of LinkedIn research and Naukri research. As you can see, you can be a research engineer or a electronics design engineer, process engineer, system engineer. Some of these things actually the designations primarily can overlap with each other, or you may be doing the same thing. Let's say you are doing a particular job. Let's say you are developing a particular piece of thing, right? Piece part of a component, and you may be called a systems engineer in one company. In another company you may be called a process engineer, right? But more or less the job description or the job role that you have been hired for that might be same. The designations might be different. Some places it will be called as power electronics engineer, especially if you are dealing with low voltage systems. Then you may be a systems engineer or e-design engineer, right? Whenever it comes to both embedded systems like low voltage as well as you are dealing with high voltage system, then you will be a power electronics engineer. Especially those people who are into VLSI design, right? At a chip level design they are working on. They are going to be an embedded programmer. That point of time, you may be using softwares like Xilinx. You may be writing code in assembly language as well, right? So a lot of such things are there. But primarily, I think we can bifurcate these into these two categories, where one is at a very chip level or microprocessor or microcontroller level. So you may be doing FPGA based programming as well. Whereas the other one is the higher level thing, using those chips. How do you add a particular component, design a motherboard or something like that, right? And there are various applications that is there currently in market, starting from automation. Like you can be an automation engineer. Automation engineer can be a robotic automation or factory based automation, right? You may be implementing a new kind of software or a new kind of tool to automate the factory functions. That is actually one of the things that also deals with IoT, right? So you may be manufacturing those small sensors or a group of sensors that will be used across the factory, which is monitoring a few of the data points, maybe temperature, humidity, these kind of things. Or in agriculture also, there are a lot of applications of IoT, right? So basically what we are doing is whatever is the manual process that we were looking at, through our skills, through the latest technology and trends, we are trying to automate it, right? And this is where, to some extent, my primary skills comes into picture, which is called as artificial intelligence or machine learning, right? When you come up with a automated system, it is a combination of lot of things. It is a combination of the hardware that we are dealing with. It is the combination of the supply chain also that is present. It is a combination of lot of business knowledge that also comes into play. Moreover, it is also a combination of the software that we are going to use to, let's say, build a platform or automate something, right? And let's say on top of that, you want to do a smart automation, right? Or the prediction based automation. That's where machine learning also comes into play, right? So all of these things are kind of interrelated with each other. Just to give you a quick example, we are working on self-driving cars or autonomous vehicles, right? So autonomous vehicles is a big application. I mean, it's a big product in itself, right? But it is a combination of so many different technology. It's a combination of data science. It's a combination of electronics. It's a combination of mechanical engineering, right? So all these things, again, I mean, these are the broader terms that I'm throwing at you, right? I mean, these broader terms also kind of dive down into a lot of smaller projects or smaller domains that are present, and that becomes your specialization as you grow in the economy, right? So these are some such different roles that are currently present in the market. Now, there are a lot of these departments or kind of the industries where the applications of electronics is very relevant, right? And some of these things I'm pretty sure you are able to relate with. Now, let's take this session in a more interactive manner. You can see a lot of industry names on the screen, right? You have electric vehicles, you have wearable technology, you have prefabricated products, AI, space travel, IoT, robotics. Robotics is very important part of automation. I mean, don't think of it as a very like humanoid robot. Robotics can be at a big level also, where when you are automating the manufacturing process, in the entire supply chain also, you are putting a lot of small robots as well as big robots who kind of automate this entire thing, right? So can you guys tell me some of the applications that you have heard of in any of these technology? You can use the chat tab, I guess, or the comment tab to put up these things. And Isha, would you help me in identifying like what are the answers given by people? What are the applications that you see in these industry? Are you familiar about? For example, AI, in AI, there are these augmented reality glasses, right? Augmented reality glasses is something that you might have seen, or the VR headset you might have seen. There itself, the application of electronics is there. Similarly, in other industries, where do you think applications of electronics are present? Yeah, so Archit has put up like home automation using IoT. That's a very good example. Smart homes nowadays, you might have heard, right? You are controlling a lot of, let's say, you are coming from a hot day, coming back to your home, right? And you want to switch on the AC. You can just use your app, and the app will automatically make sure that the AC is switched on. So when you get into the room is already chill, right? Okay. So in aerospace industry, Nisha, like what particular thing that you think is a very good application of electronics? In home automation, let me tell you, the coming up with those devices or those controllers that will take the signal, or those protocols also that will take the signal from your app, and then they will make some actuating kind of function, maybe switching on the electronics product or anything like that, is actually the part of IoT. And IoT is in itself is a vast thing. I think people who are really interested in IoT can make a career out of it. right? And you can make specialization on that also. Yes, exoskeletons are really a very good example, especially for people who are differently enabled, right? So for them, exoskeletons are a very good example. And a lot of companies, to be honest, are actually working on building really good quality exoskeletons. One more thing comes into my mind is BCI, brain computer interface, right? Some of the companies, not only in India, outside India also, have been working tremendously on coming up with brain computer interfaces. And brain computer interfaces are of two types. It's also part of wearables, right? The wearables BCIs are something that you wear, and it kind of captures your brain signals or muscle movements and then uses it to do something or do some kind of activity, right? Whereas there are implants based BCIs also, brain computer interface. So I'm pretty sure you know a lot of companies which are also dealing with such things, right? Smart clothing, okay. Could you explain a bit more on smart clothing? Wearables using IoT. Guys, have you like one very interesting example? You might have already seen this. Lot of people use that for healthcare or the fitness purposes. Can you tell me what is that? Smart wearables. Okay, you might have seen these smart watches that are there, right? Which monitors your steps, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, and everything. Lot of IoT examples are popping up. So if you are really interested on IoT, do get in touch with me after this. On LinkedIn, I can really share a good amount of resources that you can go through, at least to get you started on your IoT journey. Okay, smart clothing which can calculate your heart rate and all. That's definitely interesting. Maybe the applications might be currently limited to a very specialized sectors like healthcare, or military purposes. But maybe slowly with time, these things will actually come into mainstream. And body temperature, of course. Great. So let's move on to the next segment. So I would like to hand over the session to my colleague, Mr. Divesh Gajwe. He will be walking you through a very good demo and handing it over to you, Divesh.
Yeah, so I will be sharing the screen now. Just a second. I hope screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I will be taking forward from here itself. So as Veer has already let you know that what is the basic necessity, the significance of the electronics in current world. You can see it everywhere, literally everywhere. Moreover, it is not going to decrease. It is the only thing which is going to increase in each of the gadgets. Everything is becoming smarter. With smartness, it has to be a control system which will control its functionings. So as you know that these are some of the industries which are very promising, but you don't know how to get in. Okay, so I will be walking you through all the steps that you may take to get into these industries. Now, these are very small steps which you'll, if you take in the very early stages of your bachelor's degree, surely you would be able to get into your in your core, as in whatever you like. So in that industries you may come. Okay, so first I'll start with the softwares which you must learn. It's not very must, but as per the application you will be working on, you would be learning these at the certain point of time. So I'll start with the very first software is in Proteus. So what Proteus is used for? Proteus is used for making basic circuit diagrams and simulating it. Okay, so that simulation, whatever the circuit diagram you are making, let's suppose you are making a basic switch and you put a LED in front of it. Huh. So putting a LED in front of it, so in that you would be able to check whether that circuit is working or not. So once you press, when you are going into the simulation mode, you would be able to see that whether your circuit is working, your LED will glow. It will literally blink. So however the circuit is you are forming. The second one which we are seeing is the Eagle software. Now, the Eagle software is a bit sophisticated software in which you are able to make circuits, make circuit schematics. Moreover, you are able to also fabricate the PCB itself. Now, this PCB fabrication thing we would be learning in the next slides itself. So I won't be telling much about Eagle. I'll move forward to Keel. Keel is a software for embedded programmers. So whatever microcontroller you are working with, you would be needing an IDE, the integrated development environment. So that Keel, I find that it is very user friendly, and it was a very good interface to understand it very easily. Moreover, we'll move ahead with the Matlab Simulink. Now, Matlab Simulink, what it does, whatever logic you have, let's suppose we take an application of an autonomous car. So you have some logic that if I'll go through this logic, this will work, but you don't know whether it will work or not. You can simulate that by taking all of your parameters, putting it to the MATLAB and simulating it. Once you simulate it, you will get certain results. It might be not in your favor, but it is better to get in the simulation phase of your development rather than going full hardware stage and then you realize there are some errors. Okay, so this was about MATLAB and Simulink. Then there is something called LabVIEW. LabVIEW is a software in which you can make a graphic user interface, and on the back side of it, you can create a functional body diagram to how it functions. It is totally application based. Whatever you like to make a graphic user interface, you can make it. So let's suppose you have to make a calculator to calculate if I'll put a date, and it will tell me what day it was on that date. So that you can create. There are some formulas you have to make that you'll create in the functional body diagram. Then we'll move ahead with the PLC programmer. What First of all, what is a PLC? PLC is a high level industrial level microcontroller which deals with industrial applications in connecting robots or any other heavy machineries. So all input outputs are analyzed through this PLC, and hence one must know that at least how to program it. One of its way of programming is ladder diagram programming, which you would be learning in your electronics bachelor's journey. Then comes AutoCAD Electrical. So whatever thing you can do in Eagle, you can also perform in AutoCAD Electrical. And you can also make the routing, what how it will look physically. You can create CAD models of it. You can route the wires that it should route through this area. So that's one thing which you can do in AutoCAD Electrical. And then there is Python has various numerous number of applications, whether it would be in CS or your electronics. So most of the people find it very easy to code in Python rather than going for an embedded C. So there are some programming environment where you can code in Python also if you are more familiar with it. But you should be learning Python because it doesn't stop at just the programming stage, but also will help you understand in the future journey, which is ML and AI. Okay, now these softwares which I mentioned are not particularly that you would be exposed to these softwares only in the industry. You would be getting another set of softwares, but it would be the base would be same, that for something for the circuit design, something for the simulation. So once you go through, you are familiar with these softwares, you would be able to learn and understand any kind of software which would be used in any of the industries. So moving forward, the very basic side of the electronics is the PCB. So, in very layman's term, what is a PCB? It is something that holds the component, and also it provides an electrical connection to it. Okay, so that is basically a PCB. Now you can see on the right side of the screen that there are some lines which are going there. So these are connections. So these connections are not only made on one side of the board, it is also made on the other side of the board. And in some of the complex applications, these are not only two layers, but it can be a multi-layer, because as you can see that there are many connections which has to be made, and none of the connections should overlap, or else it will fail the PCB itself. So that's why you have to create some layers so that none of the connections would get intertwined. So now you are not familiar with the terminology of the PCB. So I'll walk you through that also. So as you can see, these are some basic terminologies that will get you going. So what is an SMD pad? SMD is surface mount devices pad. So what does a pad signifies of? It is a copper area of some area in on which you can solder. Solder will stay only on that area, the pads itself. Other than that, if you'll try to solder, it won't even happen. That's why these are kept, particularly even the connections are made through the pads to other devices. So these are called SMD pads. Second is a through hole pad. So first I'll tell you that there are two types of devices which are used. So in the previous slide, as you saw that these are called SMD. So this does not have a hole which goes inside and then you drill it, but there you might have seen some of the resistors, capacitors which have two legs. So those come under through hole devices, and those needs through hole pads. So you can put your device legs through these, and you can solder it. Then will come on the silk screen. So whatever the green area you see, so that is a non-solderable area, that is called a green screen. And this is a copper track. Copper track is used to connect various components on the PCB board. So there is also called a solder mask. Solder mask is used to isolate two of the connections. So when you are soldering, these are very nearby. So solder mask helps to isolate those of connections. Then these are wire holes. Not now why these are used wire holes. Some of the connections which you are taking are overlapping on one of the layer of the PCB, but you still want to connect the connection. So what we do is create a hole through it, and we continue the same line from the other side of the board, and we have it connected again to the device. Now you can see that here there are some holes which are not leading anywhere, because these lines are isolating them from going anywhere. So what they did is create a wire hole. Then they might have came through this hole to connect other components. So this is called a via hole. So, and then there is a through hole. Through hole, as you saw that on through hole parts. So this is called a through hole. But in through hole also, there are two types. One is a blind wire. Then there is a buried wire. So blind wire is something when you will create a wire, so you will just see that one end of it, and second end would be in the other layer, which you won't be able to see when you will rotate, flip the PCB. You won't be able to see that wire hole because it has been connected to another layer of the PCB. And then there is a buried wire. There are some connections which are made into the interlayers of the PCB. Hence, they are called buried wire and which won't be visible from the either side of the PCB wherever you flip. Then I'll let you know that how to move forward for designing a PCB. Now, these are some of the steps which you follow to design a PCB. Most of the things are done in Eagle itself, so that's one relief. After that, you give to a fabrication house your files, and they will fabricate the PCB and will give it to you. So we'll first go to the function design. Okay, so what you need from that PCB, you have to first think about it and create a rough sketch of it. That this is the functioning I'm looking for. This might be the components which will be used, and these are the rating of the components. Now there are many things to take under consideration, that what should be the copper line width, what should be the wire width. But these are something that you'll get into knowledge when you'll do it by yourself. So I'm giving you a very brief introduction to it, that how you can move forward. So first you'll create a schematic. Schematic is basic circuit drawing. Then you will turn it into a layout. Layout is something which you do on the PCB. So this is called a PCB layouting. Once PCB layouting, that where should be the components be placed, so that it should take very less of the space. Moreover, the connection should be very near to each other, so that there wouldn't be any losses. So the next step would be routing of the components. So the earlier we saw that we have to create wires and everything. So that we have to do in routing stage. Then we create a Java file, which we gave it to the fabrication house. Now, the very familiar tool that we can use is Eagle. Eagle stands for Easily Applicable Graphical Layout Editor. So this is very simple software which you can use. It is very user friendly, and you in this upcoming slides you would be able how to start with it. Okay, so it basically consists of three: schematic editor, layout editor, and auto router. So whatever we saw over here, that what we are going to do, these three functions are available over here. So this is the something whenever Eagle you will start up, this is the page you will get. So from here, how to start your new project? You click on the file, click on the new, and create a project. Once the project is created, right click on the project, again create new and create schematic. Create just the schematic, not the board as of now. Then we will do it in the later stages. Just create a schematic. So here also we have given that do not create the board file yet. Once you have created the schematic, just use means save the file first of all, because if you won't save, you would lose lot of your data and lot of your working hours. Okay, so after this is your whenever you'll open that schematic, this is the basic screen which you'll get. So here you will get the title bar, menu bar, toolbar. The main thing which you would be using is the command toolbar, and there is a status bar. So in command toolbar, these are the parameters that you can use to either uh, move the component, but first you have to add the component. So when you'll add the component, you can rotate it, move it, group it, delete the part, you can rename it, and net is used to connect those components. So here, once you have gone through over here, we'll click on add. On after adding, you can see that these are some of the components that are used. So here is a search bar also. You can click on the components that whatever you need according to your application, and click OK. So once you have placed all of your components, then you can just arrange them in such a way that it can be connected very cleanly. You would be able to know that where what goes where. So using the net tool, you can connect these components to the whole circuit, and this is the schematic ready. Next, what is the part is the layouting. So when you'll click on this switchboard part, when you'll switchboard, the layout will pop up. Now this is the area where you have to work, and here are your components. So you have to drag those components in this area, and you have to arrange them. Okay, so you have dragged those components in this area. Now you have to arrange them in such a way that it takes the most minimalistic area, and you would be able to connect these with the least of the connections. So here I have placed my all of the components. Now this is just the placing, and this is these traces you can see is the thing which will help you to guide that where this connection was made. So as this is showing that this was connected over here, so you would be able to route that area to this pad. So once you have done this, so you can see that how the routing is done. So why there are two colors is because there are two layers. More the layers, more would be the colors. As you can see that this particular component is connected from here, then it changes to red. Now how it changes to red? Because there is a wire being used over here. So it if it he would have gone through this area, he would have cut this line, which would have lead to uh, the failure of the system. So that's why he took a wire, then he connected this. Now this everywhere it is done such like that. Now why some of the lines are with the widths are more, the widths are less. So this is determined by the calculation you make, the ratings of the component, how much current it would be passing. On the basis of that, these width are being decided. So once everything is routed, everything is done, you can create a borderline uh, of the PCB, that how big you want. You can select that what should be the length, width, or everything. If you need some screwing elements that you should be able to fix the PCB over somewhere, so you can create some of this holes over here. So once this is done, your PCB is ready. Now this is the very end part. You will go in the files. You will export the jobber files. Once the jobber files are exported, the jobber file consists of whatever the names is there, what connections you have made, what is the size of the PCB, what components you would be using. So those are some things which are placed in the jobber files. Once you give it to a fabricator, he would know everything, where to place, how to make it, and your PCB would be ready in your hands. The next step would be to solder the components on it, and your PCB is done. So this was the whole journey, technical, so that you would be able to create your own projects. I would like to tell you, people, that always always take a project, whether you are technically sound yet or not. Whenever you go into a project, you would be forced to learn some of the skills which would be very helpful in the further times. So I would hand over to sir, beyond this.
Thank you very much, Devesh, for that wonderful session. So let's move ahead. I hope everybody who are watching this webinar would have gotten a very good understanding on how to design the PCB as well as how to fabricate the same, right? So again, if you have any questions, just keep it with you. Once we get into the Q&A section, we can discuss on that more. Let me quickly share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Great. So, as you can see on the screen, there are a lot of companies, some of the big companies as well as some of the smaller startups, middle stage startups are part of the electronics industry, right? Some of them deals with aerospace, some of them consumer planes, some of them autonomous vehicles, some of them deals with cars, some of them scooties, a lot of things that are there. We are also somewhere in there if you can spot it, right? And some of these big companies, definitely it is going to be hard as a fresher to get a job in these places. More or less, what we can do is we can at least get an internship role, right? Normally, when a fresher gets into a electronics company, they are given an internship role because more or less this is the information gap that is present. Whatever you study in college might not all be relevant when you get into a professional world, right? So by going through the job, as Deves also pointed out, by going through the job itself, when you are part of the product team or part of the development team, right, you get to learn or pick up a lot of new skills that are actually relevant for the job, and that's how you grow, right? You grow by working on projects, you grow by learning new skills, more or less, right? What happens during a college is more or less the foundation of your skills, right? You understand the basics of electronics, you learn about what are the available pieces. So as you go ahead in your career, your path will become more and more fine tuned, and you will be getting into a particular domain, right? And in a particular industry also. So this is all about the entire company. Now let's move on to the most important part of the session: how to get jobs. I mean, as freshers, as college students, right, as undergrads, this is something which is very, very important and very, very crucial to get a job. Rather than switching into a different domain or a different skill set, right, you would definitely prefer whatever you have learned in the college is actually applicable, and you would primarily want to work in the same domain or the core companies that we normally say, right? First thing in itself is identify your interest. Now it may take a certain amount of time to figure it out because there are so many things in the world, right? So many technologies, so many applications. Definitely get your hands dirty in as many of them as possible, right? If you want to build a robot, go build a robot. If you want to build a small device which does some kind of control, go do it, right? But it is definitely very, very important to do something, right? To build something and identify your interest. Now, this is also something a lot of students ask me, right? I mean, because we are in college and we are not able to spend a lot of money on hardware. That's definitely a problem, right? I mean, you have to get your hands, whether take some funding from the college, do some kind of public based project where you can get some sponsors on board, or participate in various club activities in your college where they would already have sponsors and they will already have some more or less hardwares for you to work on, right? Get into those projects, right? And try to identify what exactly you are interested in and try to build your career around that. Now once you identify these things, the next thing is to identify the jobs that you are actually interested in, right? How do you identify the job? Of course, as I said earlier, the role or the name of the job might be different across companies, right? Even if the work is same, the role or the designation itself is different. So it is very essential to read the job description. Now, job description is a very important part of any recruitment process, right? Because going through the job descriptions only, you will be able to identify what are the skill sets they are asking for, right? And that is where you have to work on. Now, going through this entire process is actually hectic, right? If you are looking to find a dream job, you have to work for it. That's something that is of course there. I mean, you cannot just get a job by not doing anything, right? So you go through the job description, you identify what are the keywords that are used in the job description, you identify what they are asking for, whether in a new recruitment or as an intern, what are the skill set they are looking for. That is where you start learning the skills, right? Whether if they're looking for you to have Autodesk experience, right? You have to download Autodesk, maybe download the student version of it, do some project on it, right? Only then you are developing that relevant skill set. And that is how you will also differentiate yourself from all the other applicants. And there may be hundreds and thousands of applicants for a particular job, right? But only by learning those skill set that are mentioned in the job description will you be able to at least get a chance to get into an interview round. Because this is something that happens a lot of time. A lot of the first resume shortlisting part is actually automated nowadays. Like nobody reads your resume anymore. There are a lot of so you have the job description, you have a resume, right, or a CV, and the recruiters, what they do, they have automated the process, right? I mean, the keywords that are there in job description, if they match what is there in the resume, that will get shortlisted in a much faster way, right? So that will at least give you a chance to sit for an interview, and then it's on you actually how you prepare, how you portray your knowledge to the interviewer or the recruiter. There may be multiple rounds also, right? They may be giving you case studies, more or less. Normally what I've seen is many companies give case studies. If it is a good company, they will definitely give you a case study, because that's the exact skill set they're looking for. That's the minimum foundation that they're looking for. So if they're giving you a case study, take it as a challenge. Even I have done it. Take it as a challenge and you try to complete the case study and you come up with a really good solution which will impress them immediately, and then the interview process becomes very very easy to crack. More importantly, you also need to include the keywords that are present in the job description in your resume, so that your resume gets shortlisted for the interview round or gets shortlisted for the case study or hackathon round, right? And make sure you are not portraying any kind of false information, right? I mean, that's a really bad thing to do, and it adds a very poor recruitment experience to the recruiters. If you are mentioning some false information, that's a no, complete no. You should not do that at all. Try to learn those skills. Once you are good enough with those skills, put it on your resume. That will give you more traction in getting shortlisted for these rounds, and after that also the interview will also go pretty much smoothly, right? Now there are a lot of things, of course, the company does that you may not have worked on or might not have been exposed to. Nothing to worry about, right? I mean, first of all, you have identified something which you are interested to work on, right? Do a small project, do a mini project, and that mini project should align with the company's line of work or the whatever the company is building, because that is a very attractive point. And not actually 99% of the students don't do that, right? So if you put some extra hours of work, if you put some extra efforts, if possible put some extra money also, right? But make sure you have at least one project that stands out of the crowd, right? That shows your resume is really good. And if you are good enough, then you can actually align with it with the company's goals or the company's vision. In that case, it will be very easy for you to get shortlisted for the further rounds or get the job itself, right? That's very important. More or less, I have seen a lot of times in many resumes, people don't mention any words at all. I mean, to be honest, when I recruit someone, right, I primarily look at the projects section and the skills, tools, softwares that they have worked on. And if both the softwares and tools they have actually used in the projects that they have mentioned in the description, right? I mean, that is something that's a very good thing for me. Like, I really like such profiles. And so you have to mention your projects. If you have not done any, do it, right? Even if it becomes sleepless sometimes, because this is the entry point for you, right? If you get a good job and the path after that is pretty clear, right? So you may have to put some extra effort. Definitely college is going to bring you some core companies, primarily IT companies, where you have to switch to the software industry, right? But if you try hard enough, you may get a job by yourself also. You may not really go for the campus placements. I have seen many people, many talented people who really follow this structure very thoroughly, and they've actually gotten a good job. And in their whatever whatever industry they want to get into, they get the job there only, right? And also a very important point is build connections, build referrals through your LinkedIn or any other social media profiles. There are a lot of job posting websites like LinkedIn, Naukri, Indeed, Internshala, where you can actually apply and reach out to these recruiters, right? Now what happens when, let's say, referrals are very important, by building a networking, especially in the job market or the corporate market, right? By building a networking, you build credible connections, you build trustworthy connections, right? And all the time, whenever a company gets a lot of applications, they get hundreds and thousands of applications, of course. And what happens is when they get a referral, right, those referrals are treated as high priority all the time, every company, because referral by default means credibility. You know someone, you know that person, he or she is a good person, and they have really good skill set, and you have referred the person to the HR team, right? So they will by default prioritize them over any other people. So it is very, very important or crucial that you build networking, right? So these are some of the steps, as a fresher you should follow strictly. Even not as a fresher, people who are still in the industry, trying to switch to a job, somebody who is in a different industry and have not gotten a job in their whatever they wanted to, right? So they also kind of follow this kind of steps, and it actually works out for them. One more thing is, whenever you apply to any other company, right? So your resume should be customized to that company. I know it's a pretty hectic work. Normally the first thought would be, "Okay, I will make a one big resume which will have all the projects that I have done," right? And it would be a big chunk of things, or it may not have anything at all, right? So that's a very bad thing to do. So don't apply same resume to all the companies, because every company is aligned to their line of work, right? And they are looking for a specific set of skills. Let's say one company is there who are looking for skill A, right? And you have learned skill A, skill B, skill C, right? Whenever you are applying for a company, let's say XYZ, right? Then you make sure you highlight your skill A or the projects related to skill A primarily on the top of your profile or resume, right? Because nobody is gonna go through a bunch of projects and see कि अच्छा only this project is relevant, right? So if you have 5 projects and only one is relevant, either you make sure that the relevant project is highlighted at the top, or you can only mention that project itself. I mean, just remove all the non-relevant projects, because they are anyway not gonna add value to your resume, and that's just gonna clump up your resume a lot, right? So that is one thing that you can try to do. Okay, let me quickly talk about Lycan Automotive, right? So you guys can, if you have the screen, you can, the QR code is visible. You can scan it up, and I think our profile would open up on the window. By the time you do it, let me just explain what our goal is, what our motivation is. So we are a small startup, right? We are working on building four-wheeler electric vehicles, that only not only electric vehicles but also autonomous electric vehicles, basically self-driving car, right? That can drive on road automatically without any user interaction. There are a lot of different kinds of companies and industries which are actually dealing with autonomous electric vehicles. Now, why we have chosen electric vehicles is because it is the future, right? I mean, slowly and slowly, petrol and diesel are gonna go down, and at the end of the day, it is how innovative we are and how we can sustain the environment. That's what it is all about, and that's where electric vehicles or electric cars, electric bicycles, all these things come into picture. There are a lot of benefits of electric vehicles. I mean, there are a few webinars which are also present on my YouTube channel. I will give you the links for that later. that you can actually go through to actually see the benefits of electric vehicles. And that too, why autonomous? Because it also adds the factor of safety, it also adds a factor of luxury. And basically, who doesn't want to have a driver in their car, right? When you are going somewhere, rather than hiring a driver, you have an autonomous car with you, and it will automatically take you through all the roads, all the traffic that are present. So yeah, that's the case with autonomous vehicles. And I completely understand that it's very challenging on Indian roads, because all of us are primarily, maybe the audience are from India itself, right? So as we have seen, the roads are, it's in a different level. So it's really hard to navigate as a human. So how can some software or some devices, some hardware can actually navigate through such routes, right? But we have come up with a few prototypes that are really good enough, and we are pretty sure that we can make it work on Indian roads. And if people are able to do it on foreign roads, we can definitely do it on foreign roads. But if we are, as a company, able to make autonomous electric vehicles on Indian roads, right? I mean, basically, we can do it in every other country, right? So that's the motivation that we have for working on electric vehicles. And of course, the long-term plan is to build a sustainable future for us, for our future generations who are going to come, and give them a safe environment where they can grow, they can innovate more. And one of the things that is in a lot of way misinterpreted is autonomous is something that is going to take away jobs. It's not really the case. Autonomous is something that is going to not only give you more jobs, but also it's going to open up opportunities for innovation. So every human being on earth have ideas, right? So it will give you more time, it will give you more efficiency in terms of coming up with more and more innovation and really interesting stuff, right? And that would be a much faster growth than just keeping it manual. So that's all about like an automotive. And yeah, so I am currently working as a product head at Lycan. I am also the founder. Divesh is currently working as the power electronics lead, and we have also a mechanical lead in our team. Do get in touch with me over various social media links. We'll definitely connect. And if you need something, of course, you can just message me. We are also looking for interns on the electronics side. If you are willing to apply, do send me your resume through the social media channels. I'm also working on augmented reality. We have developed a really awesome social media app. So one of my team has worked on that, and I'll share you. It's on my website. You can actually go to the website. You can subscribe. I have a lot of interesting blogs, and a lot of interesting people have contributed to these blogs as well. And there's a really good electric vehicle series, a three-part series present on the website, and you can definitely check it out. And in case you want more understanding on electric vehicles, these articles or these blogs are actually very detailed, and it starts from a very layman terms and it takes you to a very technical expertise level. So do go through them and let me know if in case you have any queries. And you can of course email me. You can send me your resumes in case you are interested for an internship, and we'll discuss further. We also come up with a lot of interesting stuff, articles, and time to time, in lot of trivia that is currently present in the market. So currently it is not going on that great because I've been really busy working as the product head at Lycan. But definitely we are trying to give a lot of interesting content, interesting technology, interesting ideas, innovation to all our young entrepreneurs, as well as people who really want to get out there and do something great for their life, for their career, right? So do get in touch. So I guess I think that's it from my side. I think we can now take up the Q&A session. If you have any questions, we'll be on the call and you can just put up your question and we'll discuss.
Thank you so much, sir. So let's head on with the Q&A session. Kindly post all your questions in the chat box. I would address them to sir one by one.
Yes, Agrima. Agrima has questioned what awesome companies we should aim for. There are a lot. I mean, how do I start? I mean, if you just go to Google and search for core electronics jobs, you will basically get a list of companies that you can apply for. Now, always make sure you are following one good practice. Never misinterpret the years of experience, right? Lot of times I have seen when we post a job for a person who is required for 5 years experience, and but people with freshers also apply for that. They are not going to be selected, right? So whenever you apply for a job or an internship, make sure it is actually for a fresher, because that actually brings you the maximum chances of getting that job rather than applying for a position which is like 5 years requirement in the industry, right? Lot of these companies, including the FANG based companies, the big ones, you can actually apply there as well. And there are a lot of startups in India itself, right? I mean, India is going through a big startup wave right now, right? So any of these startups you find, and there are a lot of openings also coming up, you can actually apply for. Don't judge a startup, of course, right? It might be a small company, but when you join a small company as a core team member, it may be a less than 10 people in the team, right? But you are joining them as a core team member. That means we have the maximum opportunity to learn as well as grow, right? So that is something that you should always keep in mind. When you join a big company, let's say you join an MNC, normally what happens is you will be getting a very, very small subset of work that might not be that relevant, and you will be absolutely replaceable in the company, right? Somebody else might come and replace you immediately. So when you apply for startups and middle stage startups, sometimes the pay is very high based on your skill set, of course. Sometimes the pay is a bit low, but growth opportunity and learning opportunities will be very high in that case. And this is the years to actually struggle and put your efforts, right? तो अभी नहीं grow करोगे तो what, when will you grow? When you're married and you're like 30, 40 years old, that time it will be very hard to struggle, right? So right now you take it up, all of them, and you see what you can do.
So, Arshad, got a question for you. What were the biggest hurdles which you faced in your journey and tips on how you tackle them?
Okay, there are a lot of hurdles actually. I mean, a lot of hurdles, as in right now also I'm struggling. I think in any entrepreneur's life, hurdle is a the thing that is absolutely taken, right? Anything that you do, there is going to be a time that might not work. Whether it is optimizing your resources or coming up with something which is innovative, which is attractive to the investors, right? Or analyzing a business model whether it will work or not. Apart from that, there are a lot of especially in the manufacturing industry, you have to be on the go, you have to be on the run all the time. There may be a call, or there may be a piece of information or piece of equipment that you need, and there's a very less time, or last point of time that might run out actually. So you have to really be on the go all the time, and you should basically be prepared for anything, right? Both mentally as well as physically, especially in my kind of journey. And I mean, I can give you a very specific example, a lot of specific examples, but I would refrain myself from that right now. It will take a lot of time to discuss all this.
Nisha, got a question for you. How has the industry changed since you started? Like experience.
Yes, yes. So the industry is ever growing, right? So when I started with artificial intelligence and machine learning, it was 2015-16, and is still growing, right? So when I talk about AI, ML, and electric vehicles, these two are the primary things. I will also say a little bit about augmented reality, right? Earlier it was very new, right? Earlier it was very new, and not a lot of people know about this technology. That is where the actual struggle is, because when you are trying to build something for users, and we tell them, okay, this is a great thing, it will help your life better, but they it's completely new, and they're not really accustomed to the technology itself, right? So जैसे अश्नीर ने बोला था, QR code is something that when it came up, so Paytm, they help people teach QR code. So augmented reality is something like that. And EV is still growing, because manufacturing industry, because these are heavy equipments that you need. There's a lot of investment that is there, and there's a huge amount of people who are yet not familiar with EV. And there are a lot of challenges in Indian ecosystem as well. Every day, every week, every month, there is progress. Every company who is actually part of EV, they're working really uh, in a hectic manner, to make sure the users know what are the benefits of EV, what are the things they can get out of it, and to actually set up the infrastructure required for that. Because going in future, definitely petrol diesel prices are going to go way up, and at the end of the day, you would need a cheaper option, which is also low maintenance. So that all takes care by EV, and it's an ever growing thing right now. A lot of companies who are also part of renewable energies are coming into picture, definitely for various reasons, both ecological as well as political as well as economical. Right? So a lot of things are there.
Ankush asks, what hard skills should someone in your field have?
Okay, so a very interesting question, because I would say I think Divesh should answer as a power electronics lead. He
Yeah,
can talk
please.
about this more. For my skills, it's just on the run.
So, the very first thing you would need is the enthusiasm for the work you are looking for. So, whenever you are in an industry, you are going forward, you must have the enthusiasm. Even if not the skill set, you would be learning by yourself. You won't have to completely badger on that, but you would be learning for your own self satisfaction, and you are doing something to change in the industry. And yeah, it whatever the skill set depends on the application or the industry you are going into. So, as per the electronics or EV industry, I have already mentioned the softwares which you should be familiar with. So, once you go through those softwares, you would be able to understand that how to move forward. Moreover, do projects on it. That is the very easiest thing you can do, is that make a project. You would be able to put that information in your application, and hence you would be able to answer the questions of the industry also. So yeah.
So, Santushti asks, what skills did you develop in your early years? Both of you.
So if my journey was a bit different, I started from robotics automation. So from there, I learned the robot teaching, machine, this some PLC programming, and in the very early stage, because I was very enthusiastic at that stage. Still I am, but the field has changed. But yeah, I was the fresh, very young lead production engineer. So I learned management side also. So once you are there, you learn management side, the technical side for sure. In the technical side, I learned about PLC programming, robot teaching, and everything. And yeah, in the later stage, I developed enthusiasm about vehicles, automobiles, EVs. So I learned advanced diploma in automotive mechatronics. So that was something which I wanted to do. That's why I did it. And after that, since I've been with Veer sir, I have learned a lot, which I haven't learned it even in 2 years. Because in a startup, you have to do everything, literally everything, and you would be able to get familiarized with everything. So you would be managing also, you would be doing technical stuff, you would be doing getting in touch with the suppliers and everything. So yeah, the complete development, if you have to do your complete overall development in a very short span, join a startup.
Mhm. Okay, so I think it's time to wind up the session here. Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative and enlightening session. I hope all of
Thank
us would
you.
have
Thank
learned
you.
something new and would definitely implement it in the real world as well. Thank you so much.
All the best,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sir. Also, guys, kindly follow the link pinned in the chat box for the attendance, and do not forget to register for Technica, a 48-hour hackathon which ISTE is organizing in on 20th of May. It has various tracks like fintech, healthcare, education, and open source. Take part in the track that interests you. Link for the same is also put up in the chat box. Do not forget to follow us on our social media handles to get updates regarding the upcoming events and sessions conducted by ISTE-VIT. Do check out the same, and thank you for your patience. And it's been a pleasure having you all today. I wish you all a good day ahead. Goodbye. Thank you.